All right, and go ahead, Robert. Oh, wait, let me let Greg say hi to everyone.
What she said. Like, go ahead and unmute yourself. Type in, but go ahead and fire away. Anything goes.
Hey, Greg, it's Robert.
Hey,
Great class this weekend. I'm still trying to, all these things that came into balance that I never even knew were out of balance.
yeah, you know, I find it very interesting because you know the way that we get taught things and the way that we think about things, and you know we're kind of learning these pieces, but when you start looking at like, oh, I'm just doing an energetic version of what I would do with anatomy and physiology, like, you know, it doesn't kind of click, but when it clicks you're like, oh, that's totally why I'm working these segments. And this is why to work them thoroughly, not just to kind of like, oh, let's just push through this and do the fun stuff.
Yeah.
You know, which I'm guilty of for a very long time.
Yeah,
You know,
thorough and complete is important. And
yeah,
this class pointed it out. It's not, we're not just doing half or a third of everything. You have to do it all, and it just fits together. Anyway, on our call
and
tonight,
it really sets the foundation for when we talk about, like, say, arthritis. We can look at it from an energetic, clinical, you know, even some other aspects that we're going to be laying out in the over the next few months with like body mapping, which I barely have mentioned just a little tiny bit, but it pulls everything together in a way where when you're treating something, you're like, oh, this is why we've been talking about treating this for so long. And it gives you almost like this kind of motivation of, this is why I have to treat this so thoroughly, not just because I have a symptom, but there's these other aspects that need to be addressed. And I don't know, I find it fascinating.
well, good. I thank you for going down that line and inviting us to join in.
Yeah.
On our call tonight, I have a client of mine, Jaya.
Okay.
She has a question for you.
Okay.
Jaya, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, I'm Jaya, and I fell down on July 20th on the street.
Okay.
And I broke my kneecap. I guess it's the patella bone.
Right.
And I did not go, you know, I'm more into holistic healings and complete healings like you talked about, but I didn't go for medical help till Sunday, which is 23rd of July. And then after x-rays, they diagnosed that I have like two cracks or two, you know, broken areas of my patella
So
bone.
it's fractured. It's not like they're broken apart.
Yeah, it's fractured.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are two lines, and luckily they did another x-ray on my thigh and all, and my femur bone and other bones are okay. So surgery was not needed. But I'm still in pain, and of course,
It's a very painful injury. Like, unfortunately, it's very painful.
yes.
And like that should heal pretty okay. You know, it's not that it's a weight-bearing thing. But let's try to reduce some pain for you. I mean, part of it is you get like when the kneecap gets hit like that, like it can almost get like a kind of like a bone bruise kind of thing. And sometimes like it might even be that, I'm not saying that this will happen, but we have to be kind of prepared for it, is that after the bone should heal with nothing being done, the bone should heal within about 6 weeks, right? But sometimes the pain in the kneecap will go on for 6-8 months. Sometimes I've even seen it been a year. And it doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It's just that like the bone gets almost like kind of a bruise on it. And it's probably more like the membrane and everything around it gets super irritated. So the thing that I would do is I would use helichrysum on that. You know, Robert can walk you through it. Helichrysum is very good for bruising. It's very good for pain. It's very good for lymphatic function to keep things moving. It's also good if there's any tendonitis that might arise out of that. And the tendonitis is, you know, like the big muscles of your thigh kind of come down, and then when it hits the patella, it kind of wraps around that and then turns into that little tendon that's below your kneecap. And so what happens sometimes is the kneecap upon impact has like kind of pushed out of that section and can cause like a form of like kind of tendonitis as well. And so helichrysum is also very good for that. So like I'd say helichrysum would work really super well for that. If there is some tendonitis, Robert, I would do equal parts helichrysum and Eucalyptus citrodora. And the combination is really good for the tendonitis, but a lot of just helichrysum neat, like on like the patella itself and any area around the kneecap. If you want to augment, I would even do just a little bit of work with, like, say, something like marjoram up on the front of the thigh where the quadriceps are, like at least up from above the kneecap up to maybe about mid-thigh, because those muscles turn into that tendon around that area. And they're probably not causing a bunch of the problem, but depending on how she fell and how she caught herself, and those might be a little bit of an issue too. And so I would just keep it like really simple in that range and multiple applications in a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel the need for like any anti-inflammatory?
I mean, galbanum is always good to help reduce pain. It reduces some of the agitation in the body that will come from pain. And you could always go the galbanum black cumin combination. But if you're trying to keep it down to a minimum, I would do probably more galbanum than like something anti-inflammatory. Like it really is. For this, like more about pain management. The body is going to heal it unless there was some big tear in tendon in and around the area. Most likely it's just managing that bone bruise.
Galbanum internal knee?
It could actually be internal, or she could put 3 or 4 drops on the wrist 1 to 2 times a day. I mean, it does smell a little funky, so you know, to keep it from being an issue at work and stuff, you could do it internal instead. But yeah, either way goes.
Okay, so helichrysum topical 50-50 mix with Eucalyptus citrodora.
Well, I would do Eucalyptus citrodora, like eucalyptus with citrodora, like maybe a couple weeks down the line in case there's a tendonitis. Right off the bat, like the first few days, I would do helichrysum neat, and then you can switch over to like more of an ointment. And then if there's not on the kneecap itself, but if some of the tendons around the kneecap are hurting, that's what I would use the helichrysum Eucalyptus citrodora for.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then galbanum 2 times a day, either on the wrists or internal.
Yeah, either way. And if she needs to do more, she could do more, but that'll take the edge off the pain.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then marjoram neat on the quads.
Yeah, like I'm not sure that she'll need it, but just in case, I mean, it does take some of the tension out. It's really not going to help the bone bruise, but like, I don't know how badly damaged those tendons are around the kneecap. And so you could let that one be like just in your hip pocket in case you need to troubleshoot something. The big one's just going to be the helichrysum directly to the spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
It's unfortunate, but it is a very painful injury that will get amplified, like going up and down stairs, or like you say, you're holding something and you're squatting and you need to stand up, like anything like that. It's going to hurt. It doesn't mean that anything's damaged or anything. It just hurts for a while. Yeah,
Okay.
it's uncomfortable and unfortunate, and the more you can not aggravate it, the better, not just for pain, but it will heal a little bit faster. Like sometimes we'd see this in athletes and they'd train through it. It lasts for like a year and a half. But like if you can rest it and maybe even ice it a little bit for the next like week or so, it should within a couple months be better. But like just keep treating it, and
Okay.
it will lessen and get better much faster.
Okay. She's about 2 weeks after the accident.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
So okay, some icing each day to.
I would
Just
still do
calm
it just because there's still like going to be a little bit of swelling in and around that capsule and things, and so I would just do it just to keep everything reduced for a little while.
Okay.
You know, just keep it from being too inflamed in that area for a little bit. I mean, nothing's going to be a magic bullet here, but like if you just kind of keep doing a few of those things, if the icing is too much or too uncomfortable, you can drop it. But the big one's going to be the helichrysum to the kneecap and the surrounding area.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Saja.
Hey, Saha.
Hi there. Hi Greg. Hi
Hey,
Sam.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm actually good. My foot's doing pretty good. Everything's good. But I had this question, and it's I got some turmeric from you,
Okay.
and then I read this article about I mean, my thought about using it is more for like anti-inflammatory, and I was capsules. I was making my own caps out of the powder. But anyway, I thought, oh, that's great. Just take a couple of drops of turmeric. And I don't know if I'm on the right page with that or not, but okay, but this is my concern. I read an article about how they've been doctoring turmeric to make it look more yellow and putting some like lead. I don't have the exact facts, but but my question was, is your turmeric, do you know that your turmeric is
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have to, like, when I get the stuff, like I get a chemical analysis with it, and the lead or what it's doing, they're doing it like sometimes for powder. A lot of times that's coming out of, you know, like poorer areas where they're trying to doctor it up and they do things like that. It wouldn't survive the CO2 extraction. So even if they did it, it wouldn't. Yeah, they wouldn't spend the money to do it on that because it doesn't really, the color doesn't matter or anything. But even if they did the CO2 extraction process, I mean, they bomb the material with CO2, and it just breaks down all the physical material and just, you know, separates it out. And so, yeah, it wouldn't survive the process.
right. That's comforting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I figure all the oils that you offer, you're pretty what's the word? You're strict about what you
I'm super anal about the oils, like super anal. And like if we get something where, I don't know, if it smells a little too weird or a little too different or something like that, you know, because it's never quite the same from year to year, you know, different years, the plants don't always smell exactly the same. You know, it's little nuances. It's not like massively different. But if we get something that's a little too odd, we send it off and get it tested independently. And you know, we have caught things where you know, it's never seen the light of day on our end, but it was just like, I don't know, this smells a little too weird. And you know, if it's questionable and wasn't very expensive, I give it to some soap makers that I know. But if it's something that's a little bit more expensive, I'll send it off and get it tested. And you know, we have caught a few things that people were trying to slip through. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
one of them was, it wasn't even essential oils. It was just chemicals and like this, like liquid suspension. And it, you know, it was a very expensive oil. And I went back and forth with the distiller, and, you know, they were telling me that I just wasn't happy with the scent. And, you know, I had meetings with them and, you know, on Zoom and all of this. And then they were just telling me I was full of it, sending it off to the place I sent it off to is up in Quebec. And yeah, I was totally right. You know, it was totally just a fake oil. So we don't do
Wow.
business with them anymore, and you know, it is what it is. Yeah, it happens.
So, integrity, that was the word I was looking for. I
Yeah,
know that your
yeah, yeah,
oils
yeah.
have integrity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
in-
we
in
get
my-
like we get an analysis of what it is. Like for things to come in the country and everything, they have to have these like breakdowns and everything. And then I'm dealing with vendors most times, distillers that have a big track record. But if it's somebody that I'm not sure of, or, you know, I've never really done business with, sometimes I'll even hire somebody who's more of an expert at it than I am. That's just what they do, is go through and look at the analysis and the breakdown of it. And just to make sure. So, you know, there's this
Great.
one guy I know, he can tell you what kind of container it came in by the analysis. Like it came in a
Wow.
aluminum container, or it came in a like, you know, those special plastic containers, it came in glass. He can look at the analysis and tell you what it came in. Like that's how crazy these guys are about this stuff.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good friend to have. Yeah, very good friend
Right.
to have.
So back to the physical effects. Am I on the right track? I mean, I consider turmeric an anti-inflammatory, which
Yes.
is why I was taking it. So like taking 2 or 3 drops a day, is that something that you would suggest?
Turmeric's a great one to take internally for that, even to use topically. It can work very good for things like that. I like turmeric too because it minimizes some of the effects of inflammation on the brain. You know, same with black cumin and some of the other things that we use, but those are my kind of go-to ones for long-term anti-inflammatory issues, just because they hit it on the site, they hit it more in a systemic way through the body, and then they'll also hit it in the brain, you know, where you know, you might hit it systemically, but still some of that inflammation is making it up into the brain and potentially causing some other problems. And so the idea that you're using an anti-inflammatory that works on a lot of different levels is always kind of the goal. Like, you know, you want to prevent it from becoming systemic. And usually the things that you look for where it would be systemic is really bad, like bone on bone hip, bone on bone knee, but over a long period of time, and somebody who's being very active, you know. When it starts to be more about like joints in the hands and the feet, or even a little bit in the spine, it could be there, but they're either not weight bearing, or there's not enough movement to really be concerned about the systemic thing. And when I say systemic, it's just there will be inflammation in an area, and then pretty soon that inflammatory will just goes through the whole body, and then it starts to just aggravate a bunch of other conditions. And so, yeah, the big concern is always the internal organs. You know, you want to keep it out of the organs.
Yeah, great. Well, I was told to do some anti-inflammatory stuff, and I've been, you know, I thought that would be a good one. So
Yeah, anything anti-inflammatory is also kind of a way to slow down the aging process. Like if you look down, because the aging process is just really an inflammatory process. So, you know, you reduce inflammation, you increase the potency or the function of the glands, you know, just like general treatments on the glands. you keep working the lymphatic system a bit and support the nervous system, and it really can slow down the aging process. It makes things not degenerate quite as much. You stay more alert, and there's also, reflection in the skin and in the face, and the collagen doesn't break down quite like normally would. And so, yeah.
Sounds like a miracle.
Yeah. Just keep working those basic things. And we're going to kind of even talk about that in the everyday basic thing, just like things to be doing. Just like treating inflammation and, just doing it in a real basic way, not like trying to go after and treat a bunch of different conditions. And it's just kind of like what we're talking about, like the use of a handful of things can really keep the body in a better place and the mind sharper and things like that. So, yeah.
Yep. Well, that's all on my plate, so I'm happy to hear all that.
Yeah. Good.
Well, thank you.
You're
Thanks.
so welcome. And we're going to, in that class, we're going to talk about different foot baths. And when I was writing it out, I was thinking of you. I was like, yeah, we got to like come up some good like little foot soaks for you for your feet.
For my poor little feet. Yes, that would be great. I saw that you had that one Aura Cleanse foot soak in the newsletter this week, and I thought, wow,
that's I was kind of in the middle of writing it. I was like, I'm going to throw that one in there, but there's going to be one that's for just tired, achy feet, and there's just going to be like little things that like, how like a lot of things that we do are these big giant protocols, but it's just like, hey, just everyday thing, like my feet are a little achy or tired or whatever, and you can kind of revisit some of the applications. And I'm going to have a lot of details about the different things you can do with like a salt bath or with a foot bath or things like that. And then taking things internally, just kind of a rule of thumb for just general things. It'd be kind of a fun, easy class.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I love the foot soaks, because I don't have a bathtub. So
yeah.
Really then supports me that way. So thank you for
good.
Okay, thanks a lot, Greg. Bye.
Took this weekend's class. It was incredible. Thank you so much.
Good.
I did have a couple questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah, fire away.
I've been struggling for the last couple of months with either recurring UTIs or most recent bacterial vaginitis. I've been put on a few rounds of antibiotics, finishing my most recent treatment at the beginning of July over the past 2 weeks. I feel like it's starting to come back or starting to get out of balance. Main symptoms being a slight odor and a little burning while urinating and itching.
Yeah, that's probably a bit of a UTI.
I really don't want to be put on another round of antibiotics to treat this. I've been trying to be persistent with taking a daily probiotic, but is there anything else I can do to help restore my vaginal flora and resilience? Or put it the general area, or any protocols I should be aware of?
Yeah, actually, what I would do is I would start with taking tea tree internally. I would take probably like maybe 2 drops about every 4 to 6 hours. And I would probably do that for at least 3 or 4 days, maybe even a week. You could take that for much longer, but very good for knocking out any potential UTI. It does reduce some inflammation, and you might need to do, like, if that doesn't completely knock it out, we might need to do a little bit more for just any sort of irritation down in the urinary tract or in that area. But I would start with the tea tree, like tea tree, two drops. You could go every 6 hours, but if it's real bad, I have people do it every 4 hours, throughout the day. So, that's 4 or 5 times a day, figuring that you're not going to do it while you sleep. So very, very doable. Tea tree is very gentle on the system. And in any sort of like candida, fungal growth, bacteria, even viruses and things, tea tree is pretty solid, but especially for bacteria and any sort of like fungal growths that can happen down in the digestive tract or, even externally on the body. Like it's one of the best things for athletes' feet and things like that. And yeah, let's have you try that. Like do that and maybe shoot us an email like 3 or 4 days down the line and see how it's going after you start doing that. But yeah, that should be very, very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then
And gentle. Like if for some reason you're having a little bit of hard time with it, like put it in a couple drops in water or juice or whatever. And if you're having a hard time with it, switch to like putting it on like a little piece of food of some sort. Like if the doing it in the water is a little too weird for you, it will just kind of change the dynamic enough, but it should be helpful.
And then is the next class Everyday Basics similar? Referring again to last weekend's class.
It's not the mixing of the energetics and mechanics. It's more going to be about just like different salt baths and like why to use them and different oils to use internally and different and why. Different ways to do a foot bath, different ways to use ointments and things like this. And so kind of just a practical approach of like how to use things and how to make things to do things on the fly, or just at the end of the day, you're trying to get through some little short, difficult thing. Like this would be a perfect example of that. And so kind of in the similar vein, but not so much the mixing of energy and nervous system. And we're probably not going to do a lot of protocols through that weekend. We're going to do like a lot of lecture and a lot of Q&A with people asking about things that they might be dealing with and how to go through and treat them and the proper application, proper dosage, things of that nature.
Great. And then go ahead, Jan, then Deborah.
Hey, Jan.
Hello, hi.
Hey.
Took me a minute to unmute, sorry. You were talking a minute ago about the inflammation being systemic and affecting the big joints. And
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of where I am already, because my knees have been bone on bone for quite a few years.
Okay.
And so I do take black cumin once in a while, but I do have turmeric now. I just wondered if you could give me some direction.
I do a couple of things, and I would do like you could just choose one. You don't need to do them both. Like pick like either black cumin or the turmeric, and a couple of drops a day. If you have them both, they're both pretty solid. You could rotate them, like one day do black cumin, but I would say do them every day.
Okay.
And then the other thing that I would do is I would do some sort of lymphatic work. Be it like salt bath or putting on a body tonic or putting on an ointment. Do something to move the lymph in your body, because part of what's happening is your lymphatic system, when it's turned systemic, is not processing all the inflammation and the inflammatory material.
Okay. Yeah.
So that should reduce some of the symptoms.
Okay.
You'll start to feel it in like joints and old injuries. It's just I remember one time somebody said to me that like, I had gone systemic, and they go, sometimes it gets so bad, it's like my skin hurts, like just all over. And like, if you feel the tissue, like the real superficial tissue, like there's a moderate amount of like tension there, like natural tension, like healthy
Mhm.
tension. And when it gets really systemic, it's almost like that superficial layer. They call it like a protective layer, kind of. It's like it loses its tone even. And it's a breaking down of the collagen, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you want to do that just so that things don't degenerate at a more rapid rate.
Okay.
Yeah, so lots of
And-
lymphatic work and then stay on the anti-inflammatories. Yeah.
Okay, and the lymphatic class number 3 with the fascial release.
Uh-huh.
I was told I might have a connective tissue disorder, so I thought that lymphatic class might be
Yeah,
one of the
that's a
best.
very good one for like fascial oriented. I mean, anytime you
Mhm.
work the lymphatic system, it's very good for the fascia to begin with, but that one
Okay.
went a little bit more specific on doing fascial work. And
Mhm.
a couple of the classes that we have coming up in September and October, we'll even go deeper on some fascial work.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the body mapping stuff. We'll go deeper on, you're just unwinding like the different areas in the body. When they have an issue, they generate a kind of lower emotion, and
Mhm.
we're going to go through and address that so it kind of diminishes the generation of the emotional component, but in doing
Mhm.
so, it starts to unwind the fascia and can start to have an impact on the on posture and like like say you have bad knees, or if you had a bad hip, the posture makes adjustments for that. And then at
Mhm.
first they're helpful, but then after a while they're not helpful. Like they can cause other problems and things. And
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
way to kind of go through and address those things in kind of a simple, straightforward way of addressing it.
Mhm. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Keep us posted. If you need
Oh.
help problem solving something, let us know. Shoot us an email or
Okay.
reach out Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, I sure will. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Deborah, then Chris.
Hey, Deborah.
Hi, so I was wondering a couple of things.
Mhm.
I commonly use the Bay Laurel, a couple of drops for on a regular basis.
Mhm.
That's also going to affect the immune system, correct?
Correct. Immune system, it will impact lymphatic function. It's great antiviral. It's a great antibacterial. Can help the respiratory function a bit. Can even go down and undo some of the lymph nodes in the belly. It's very good for breaking up stagnation in the lymph nodes and like poor functioning lymph nodes, which is always tied to poor like lymphatic movement. And yeah.
So there are lots of good ways to approach.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then I had, I
Sorry, just a second.
did a salt soak on my feet while I meditated doing the Twin Hearts.
Mhm.
And when I finished, I had cramping in one of my legs. Is that related at all to the salt bath?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I would say I doubt it. Like, what oil did you use? I'm just curious.
Actually, I didn't use a particular oil. It was my first time considering doing a soak while I was meditating.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's always the potential of like, you're releasing a bunch of energy out through the bottom of your feet and through the aura. Are you prone to cramps anyway, or?
I used to be. I haven't in a while.
Yeah. I mean, I'd always look at just like maybe bumping up your magnesium a little bit just in case. And then If something like that happens, I just put some marjoram on for a couple of days, and that would probably be enough, unless you're having substantial. One thing that I haven't talked about, and Troy was asking about it not too long ago, because he gets cramps in the, I don't know if he's on, but he gets cramps in his hamstrings really bad, from running and things, and he'll use the marjoram and that helps, but it doesn't make it completely go away. And we put him on some wood betony, which is a kind of herb that's real high in magnesium and manganese and very good for like cramping issues. So it's a good way to get more than normal sources of magnesium. But one of the other things that I always kind of forget is lemon. Putting lemon in your water throughout the day, it helps to normalize mineral deficiencies and imbalances, and it has a little slight thinning effect on the blood, which helps the blood to penetrate like denser muscles more easily. And I know you're athletic and you do things, so magnesium deficiencies are always a thing to watch for, but you might even try a little bit of lemon. I don't do it topically, it would be internal. But the wood betony is a way to get your magnesium serum levels up. Magnesium serum levels don't really elevate. You have to treat it for about 6-8 weeks, and then they'll go up and they'll stabilize. So even if you take it for a few days and you feel better, the serum levels haven't gone up. So it feels better, but you still haven't stabilized the issue. So you just got to treat it for a while.
Okay, so I seem to recall that when you're using lemon, that you need to be extra careful being out in the sun. Am I remembering
More
correctly?
topically than anything, but a couple of drops here and there shouldn't be too bad. Yeah.
Okay,
It's more about like if you put it on topically and you go out in the sun will hit it and turn the skin, discolor the skin.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then go ahead, Chris, then Megan.
Hey, Chris.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, Greg.
Hey,
How are
hey.
you doing? A couple of questions on
Fire away.
people. I was hoping you can take a look at this person. We've worked on him before, and when I was doing healing on him this weekend, there was a near the groin and hip, in between that, there was, when he had pain there, and I was cleaning it, there was pain shooting up in my hands upwards, right? And just wanted to see if you can take a look into that. And I think
that just means
he
it's
hides
super
a
dirty.
lot.
Yeah, that's just it's
Okay.
just super dirty. Yeah.
Super dirty. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Like if you're really getting deep, that happens pretty. I mean, even through a crystal, it will still happen.
Yeah, it was like, woof, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so would that be more? He hikes a lot too.
It sounds like a little bit of an adductor issue. Sometimes the adductors, even if the hips are balanced out, there's probably been a time where the hips were tilted. And so the adductors, it's basically the inner thigh. And there's a lot of where they get blocked up is up high. And so that's like kind of in the groin area and kind of in the groin area starting to go around to the back, like, not quite to the butt cheek, but like starting to get in and around that area. It can get pretty bound up. And so
that would include the hips, right? Because
it would
hips
definitely
felt
affect the
congested.
hips, and it would definitely affect the back, the low back. I've actually even seen it cause like shoulder and neck issues.
Oh, and he has that.
Yeah. I my guess is he's got, like, if you were feeling that through your hand or through your crystal, he probably has some substantial like tension, like trigger point activity in that area. Yeah.
Okay.
And so here's the other thing too is, different parts of the body will hold, like everywhere can hold emotion and generate emotion, but the adductors especially can hold a lot of emotion. And give me a second and I'll even tell you what to look for.
Okay.
No. So with the adductor area, so like from the groin all the way down to the inside of the knee, not the front on the kneecap, but like on the inside up.
Mhm.
So that would be all the way up into the perineum area and even a little bit on the backside. Like the emotion there that gets generated, or that it's not that the emotion is causing it, it's what it causes. Like if you have a misalignment or an injury or something like there, it starts to make it harder for the person to turn inward. Like they're just always like outwardly like expressing or turning outward. For them to sit and turn inward, it's almost like it's too painful.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so you can, okay, so he has that issue. So
Mhm.
form the intention, like when you work that area, to work it, you could clear that emotion, like clear with just using like electric violet or something, and then work the muscle, and then clear the emotion again, and then work the muscle. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What I use to use that with oils, the difficulty turning inward is
Uh-huh.
cistus. Like you could have him inhale with his awareness on the inner thighs, and cistus will help unwind that and then make it easier to treat. Like his sometimes something won't get better or gets better much slower because again, it's not that emotion is being aggravating the condition. The condition is causing a lower emotional response, and then they kind of just fuse, and they don't really respond if you only like treat half of it. Like it does, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? Everything just slows down. It just makes everything more complicated. And so by going through and treating that, you can see this is tied to some of the body mapping stuff, which is things that I used to do back in the 90s. I used to do it in healings too, but I mean, I openly talked about it back in the 90s. And when you treat the emotion that area generates, and then the tissue, it will get better at like usually a crazy pace. Like it just responds really super fast.
Okay. So here's the challenge. This person, I mean, he's gone a long way in forgiving himself. But I think there's still things that he's hanging on to where he can't forgive himself for something that happened.
Do you
And
know what it is, or
yes.
okay, you can do two things. Just like I said, how to treat the thighs, treat the muscles between the shoulder blades and the spine, and then treat the shoulder blades themselves. The area between the shoulder blade and spine will help facilitate letting go of something. The shoulder blades helps to reduce the fixation that holds it in place, like that won't let him let go.
Mm.
You know, think about like when you're on your computer and you're doing something for a long period of time with your mouse and everything, and then pretty soon you're like, God, my shoulder is like, your shoulder being in that place doing those little fine movements was in a fixed position. And so it generates a kind of response, like not just in the physical body, but even in the emotional body, that then will just like start cascading and start escalating. And it had nothing to do with a trauma. It just had to do with holding that in a fixed position for a period of time. And so anytime you see, like when we have issues where we're like fixated on something, you can always go to the shoulder blades. You'll always go to the shoulder blades. When my first like 30 years, you know, being alive, when I would get like Rolfing done, you know, where they do deep fascial work, they could barely touch my shoulder blades. If they did, I couldn't move my arms. Like I could move them like this, but I wouldn't be able to even move them away from my body because they were so sore and so tight. And then after a while, I could move them. And then I started noticing it affected my mind. It like all of a sudden, like I would not just keep grinding on something over and over again. I would go, oh, this is the problem, and I just need to work through this and do this and this and this. And then I was like, how did that happen? And, you know, it took a lot of years for me to figure it out. You know, working with people in different disciplines, you know, psychology and a lot of it was osteopathic, actually, that really kind of brought things around in the Rolfing community and all that. But whenever you see somebody who's having a hard time with something, some of it is that, yes, they're being hard on themselves, but that is still held in the body. Like the body is probably a bigger factor than their emotions and their mind. Yeah, much bigger factor. And so if you unlock the body, you know, in osteopathic principles, they say, you know, if you can unwind the body, then after that, gravity is just the therapist. Like things just start to unwind because you've aligned them with gravity somehow. You know, otherwise it just keeps weighing them down, and it becomes more and more difficult to process those things. You know, basically, pain, misalignments, spasms, you know, injuries, postural things are a big cause of lower emotions. It's not always just our situations. A lot of it's our body.
Got it. Thank you for that, Greg.
Yeah.
And then
So helichrysum on the shoulder blades, and you could even do helichrysum like between the. Let's see, helichrysum. Let me see what else I have. Let me see if I.
like applied topically.
They could do inhalations on those areas too. Helichrysum definitely on the shoulder blades, but if you had ginger lily, it would be better for between the shoulders.
Inhalations as well, right?
I mean, you can do topical and things too, but inhalation will knock it out, especially, you know, how we do that thing like, okay, be aware of your body, be aware of where you feel a tight spot or something. Here you're just going, okay, be aware of your body, that area between your shoulder blades, but the muscles, like not how we would say the chakra, like just be aware of the muscles, feel a tight spot in that area. So kind of what we've been doing for a while is kind of prepping for going a little bit deeper, where you start to fine tune where there's particular problems so that you can release the generation of those kinds of lower emotions, you know, because like, think about it, like whatever the event was when it happened, that he did it, that something happened to him, that something happened to the group of the people, that trauma happened to the body, even if it was an emotional one, and he had an emotional response, a physical response, an injury, it got held in the body, and then the body just kept producing the lower emotions after that.
Mhm. Is there a protocol for the cystis that you would recommend with the oil? I mean,
For the inner thigh, just have him inhale with his awareness on his inner thighs.
and that should relieve the
Yeah.
hips and the
It,
thing.
it will relieve the emotional component, which will make the tissue significantly easier. Because what you hit most likely was lower emotional stuff. Like you're actually tapping in. Like when you get in the body and you start working stuff, like pain and everything, it has a certain feel. But when you get in and you feel that like weird kind of prickly, like
Yeah.
shooting thing that happens up your hand, that's lower emotion. That's like where lower emotion's being generated.
Got it.
Exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more
Over the
question.
next couple months, we're going to go through the whole body and I'm going to tell you piece by piece. This is what this generates. This is what this generates. This is what this generates. And it's not complicated. It's not like there's some big story. It's just like, this is feelings of being hurt. This is this. This is, the tendency to get fixated. This is, feeling vulnerable. This is, whatever it is, you're going kind of piece by piece, step by step. And it's usually only 1 or 2 words. It's not a big explanation.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you, Greg. One more,
Yes.
please.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, that person that we talked about this person before, like big releases during healing. And the last session, she felt great after the session. And then I felt like I needed to do a little more in the back heart solar plexus. So the next day I've just followed up and just, texted her, I'm just doing a little something. And then she woke up in the middle of the night. Her feet felt like it was on fire. She was just like, what was that? She was expelling big stuff.
So tell me, so you did some work on, like you did some big work and
Yeah.
then you went
And
back
follow up
and
the
you-
next day in the back heart and solar plexus mainly. And then she woke up
emotional or like physical stuff?
Emotional. Still a lot to do with the mom. And so she felt great after the session, and then I felt like there's still stuff there, so I went back and just told her I'm just gonna do a little cleanup. And
I would do things to clean the cords, especially on the back solar plexus,
okay.
with whoever the person's the target. Like if you say it's the mom, between her and the mom.
Okay. So what was that
there's a back
burning thing on her?
It's a bit of an inflammatory response, but give me just a sec.
Okay.
Was it more the ankles, the top of the feet, the bottom of the feet, the whole lower legs?
She just said her feet felt like it was on fire. What did she say?
Right, like just the next time it comes up, try to pinpoint where, like, is it the top of your feet? Is it the bottom of the feet? Is it the whole foot? Is it the heel?
Okay.
So a couple of things, like sometimes it can have to do with like the generation of the feeling of like separation. And you know, the thing is like sometimes when you're healing something with a parent, it can stir all kinds of weird kind of emotional things that are more like primal than what happened, you know.
Mhm.
And it's not always going to be logical, and it's not always based on what happened, but like it just stirs a certain kind of pot, you could say. But like if it's more on the top of the foot, it tends to be more of things that have been projected at the person, probably from that person, and
Mm.
probably not nice.
Mm. Okay.
Doesn't have to be that it was verbal. Like it could just still be that that person always had, you know, maybe loved her, but also had other thoughts as well.
Mhm.
Like I usually
if
don't
it
like
was-
to say that to clients. I just say it's just projections.
Mhm.
But I mean, if we're going to boil it down, it usually is some sort of like hostility, or you know, something that's being projected, and it could have been way back when, like
Oh,
not.
yeah. Childhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. What if
But the
it's at
feet
the
like
bottom?
can separation. Yeah.
Ah,
And then the ankles would be more about like feeling unstable, like in like instability, like chaos or instability.
okay.
Yeah.
So I just told her to soak her feet in
Yeah.
um
You could do that. Something
salt
that's
water
soothing,
and
like
oil.
spikenard,
Spikenard, yeah.
valerian, vetiver, tagates, you know, anything like that. Helichrysum.
Just lavender right now.
Yeah, lavender.
Okay. Thank you so much, Greg.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Megan, then
Hey,
Ann.
Megan.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
One thing at a time. Oh shoot, I'm echoing. Can you hear that echo?
Yes.
Let me try to mute and mute.
It's not bad.
Still. echo? Okay, it's okay. I'm just gonna do this. It's annoying to me. So about Jay, last we talked, he had really bad fatigue and he just looked like he was toast by 6 o'clock every day. I just want to follow up that you said to work on his spleen, and
Mhm.
that just fixed it really fast. So
Good.
that part is doing really good. Okay, this echo is killing me. Just a second. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, for some reason, another window opened up. So I'm trying to just kind of go through this, like the ADD symptom stuff. So,
Sure.
you know, happily, like his energy is better and that helps everything. Because when he's tired, he gets more like hyper and stuff like that. So some of the things that are still difficult is like, he still interrupts quite a bit. He's just really impatient. He kind of like, if he's in the middle of something, it's really hard to get him to stop and like listen to like what's going on. Sometimes like the kid needs something and he's just ignoring everybody. And then like I feel like, I mean, we all argue. I argue, but sometimes the way that he's really like reflexively argumentative, it reminds me a little what you said about the immune system, like being overactivated. And I wanted to ask what you thought about that. And then last of all, he mentioned he's had some head injuries, and then I thought that could be a factor.
What part of his head do you know?
He just, yeah, let's say, I don't know. It was childhood and.
Okay, so you're calling it like ADD, ADHD, like his attention span's not the greatest, he bounces around. And like when you're talking, he kind of reflexively kind of pushes back before you even get all the information out.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, he hasn't been diagnosed. He did read Dr. Amon's book and he said he felt he related to it pretty well.
Okay, the spleen made him better, but as far as energy levels. Okay, so are you going to be doing this with oils? Or you're going to be doing this other ways?
Probably oils.
Okay, I would do that protocol of using the camphor on the arms and legs, and then just rosemary after that through the body. Like he looks like he's got brain fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then supplement that also with maybe adding sage to his wrist like 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah, so he's been doing sage for a long time, several months.
Okay, stay on that, but like
him.
increase the blood to his head. Like his arms
Yeah.
are super congested. His arms and legs are super congested. So, you know, you look at it from the point of view of circulation, you look at it from a point of view of neurology, you look at it from a point of view of like energy, the movement of energy.
Mhm.
And I say his biggest issue is more of the circulation. Like he's not getting quite the right blood flow to his brain. Does he have any cardiovascular issues or symptoms that you're aware of?
So he's had high blood pressure. When he
Yeah.
does like the oil stuff I give him, it'll go down and he's
Okay.
out of the range of high blood pressure.
I would say
but-
he's probably got some cardiac fatigue. You know, the
Okay.
camphor is a very inexpensive way to do that. And this is what I would say. I would like to add a little variation for him. So we'll have him do the camphor on the arms and legs. You can do the whole arm, but also like doing it in the joints, because like if the joints don't have enough circulation, or from an energetic point of view, enough red prana in the joints, it makes the person feel like chaotic, like in their mind. And so when they do that, they're just like, no. They're like always trying to create some sort of inner stability. He sounds like he's got a little bit of that. And
Yeah,
so,
like he doesn't want like new
like,
information.
don't come in my space.
Or something?
Don't make me
Yeah.
do something different. I have
Yeah,
my
don't
list. Let me-
disrupt.
Yeah,
the
don't
thing that
make
I'm
me
in.
change my list. Don't add things to
Yeah.
my list. Like what I hear with that is circulation in the arms and legs. So the pattern would be back, heart, arms and legs, right? I'd have him linger. You could use the camphor, but you could also use the, you know, the red healer, that blend from the mystical vibration.
Mhm.
Have like do the arms and legs first, then have him go back through and spend a little extra time with the red healer on the joints themselves of the arms and legs. But the other thing that I would have him do is go through, do the arms and legs, and then on the kidneys, like inhale with the camphor on the kidneys. Because, you know, a lot of times when somebody's agitated, you go, okay, let's calm this down, let's calm that down. The way to calm the kidneys down is to stimulate circulation. If the circulation is inhibited, or you're using anti-inflammatories, or you're putting like just a bunch of blue prana on it, it actually makes the person like more like agitated or more active. When you dilate the kidneys, it makes the person relax.
Yeah.
You know, because like for fight to flight happen, the body starts like turning these like little levers to say like, okay, we got to get ready to run and fight. So one of the things that it does is it goes, well, let's dump all the things in the kidneys so you don't have a full bladder so you can run or fight or whatever it is. So it starts inhibiting circulation in the kidneys so that you don't have the activity in the kidneys and bladder to run or fight. And so over a period of time, that turns into high blood pressure, that turns into anxiety, that turns into high stress response. You know, it turns into all that. He's got a little bit of that issue.
Yeah.
Like like really invigorate the kidneys somewhat, like lots of things of increasing circulation into the kidneys. And then after you've done that through the body, then just a little bit of rosemary just from the feet up, and it doesn't even matter the pattern, just kind of work the way up or rub it on his body so that more blood gets up to his head. And I think that should help quite a bit.
Okay, so when you say camphor on the arms and legs, you're just putting your attention on the whole arms and the whole legs, but you
I
start.
would kind of go joint by joint, but I'd
Okay.
also do the whole arm at a time. And if you want to make it like really easy and short, you can make it into like a liniment and just have him slap it on his arms and legs.
Okay.
You know, it is so you know him better, you'll know what he'll do and what he won't do. And so you can just either
Yeah.
do it topically or have him sit down for 15 minutes and go through the arms and legs.
Yeah, well, we're talking about short attention spans, so we'll be doing the liniment.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
a red healer, you can just put drops on the joints of the arms and legs.
Yeah, you could do it like a little roller ball or just put a little drop on each spot or however you want to do it. Yeah.
Okay, and then,
And you can put the camphor just right over the low back area over the kidneys, like
Yeah.
in the liniment. Mhm.
cool, okay, and I have that. And then, kind of on the same topic with my son, Arian, and he's, way, way better, as I've told you too. So it's like, we're not really struggling at home a lot, but I still, he kind of has a similar thing. I don't know if it's the same cause or different, where it's just really hard to interrupt him once he started down something. So in his case, it's usually like these pointless arguments with his little sister where he just has to prove her right about stuff. And I know this is also normal kid stuff, but the way that like I try to stop him or interrupt him, and it's like I'm not even there. He makes no response like I'm there and I'm right next to him. And so it's a similar kind of like just really bulldozing kind of habit.
And how old is he?
11.
Um, do you have him doing super brain yoga?
During the summer, no, I always remember during the school year, but he was, yeah.
I don't know that it's going to be enough, but
Yeah. We'll definitely get back on that. He likes to argue a lot. I mean, whatever I say, he'll just contradict me. It's kind of fun for him, but also he's a little obsessive with it. It's a little too much.
Um, do you happen to have Opopanox?
Yeah,
So have him inhale one nostril at a time. Like, so he's going to close the one nostril, inhale for a little bit, and then inhale the other nostril, inhale it for a little bit, and then put several drops of it like on his abdomen. Probably mostly at night. And it's not so much what it does in one night, it's going to be like an accumulative effect. But, you know, it's just, like the instinctive responses are a little overactivated, but given his age, it's what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be excessive, but it's what happens. And so, like, I'd start with Opopanox, and then we could even go like with Opopanox with like wormwood applied to his belly, or that
Mhm.
Paracelsus blend applied to his belly. I think that will knock that out.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it's going to take a little while,
okay,
but it's
Okay.
the I mean, here's the thing is it might get a little bit worse as it gets older with the glands. So the more you do it now, the more that the pattern won't get set.
yeah,
It's going to happen, but like it doesn't have to be so excessive.
yeah. Some of it is like, I'm like, oh, am I just overdoing it with all the healing stuff? But it's also like, he's in a sort of unhealthy kind of thing that isn't really feeling good for him either. And so I want him to, be relaxed and comfortable too.
Okay, this is going to sound really weird, but
Yeah.
in a weird way, yes, he's been obnoxious with his sister, but he's practicing how to establish himself socially like amongst his peers, and he's just not doing it in a great way. But it's what's he's trying to work out in his head. So even if you wanted to back it up with conversation, you could do it not about like, hey, what's going on with your sister, what about this? Go, tell me what's going on at school, what's going on with your friends, like talk it out more about how he's fitting in at wherever he has social interaction or social engagement.
Okay.
Yeah, that, because honestly, that's the issue. His sister is almost like, how like puppies fight to learn how to like protect themselves, and they work on their moves so that like when they're older and a dog picks on them, like they have their moves down, but they play wrestle for a while, right?
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
play wrestling with his sister. Like,
Yeah. Well, she
not
does
saying-
not like it.
No, usually the one losing doesn't like it at all. But the one, it's like they're working on their moves. They're working on like how, like what they're going to say, what they're going to do, like what he's just working on is like he's working on his presentation, you could say.
Okay.
It's just she doesn't want to participate, which I don't blame her.
Well, he just hammers her to death, and
Yeah.
and she screams.
Well,
and
it's what he wants to do to his peers. He just can't do it to his peers.
yeah, he's so polite with everybody. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know you can do it. Like, why are you so different?
Sister is safe though.
Different at home.
Sister is safe. He knows he's going to win, and there's no social
He won't embarrass
issues
himself.
with it going on, like that he did it or he lost or whatever.
Right.
Like it's a way to work it out in a way where there's no witnesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, it's silly, but that's what it is.
Okay. Well, that helped.
Yeah. So just do the things that we talked about, and then also just talk things out, and just like, how's things going? How does that make you feel? What about this? What, just it's probably going to be a bunch of really silly things, like for everybody else, but for him, they're really important.
Oh yeah. Talks a lot about school. So
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Anne, then Deborah.
Ian, my daughter, the kindergarten teacher, dropped some heavy chairs on her foot. And it's very painful. She thinks probably she's broken some bones. She has to be able to. He's been soaking it because it's swollen. It's red.
Yeah. How long ago did this happen?
Just today.
Does she have helichrysum or access to
No,
helichrysum?
she doesn't have anything.
She doesn't have anything. Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do then is to compress it, so ace bandage, ice it, and then elevate it.
Okay.
Yeah. If you had helichrysum, you could put it on there. It would stop the bruising. It would cut down the pain. Some of the inflammation. A little tarragon inhaled would reduce some of the agitation in the body, galbanum some of the pain. But you got to deal with what you got to deal with what
Maybe
she
can
has.
get some. Maybe she
What-
can get some there in California.
What's that? I didn't do
Maybe
that.
she can find some in California.
Maybe she can find some in California.
The helichrysum and tarragon.
Yeah. What part of California?
Oxnard, which is south of San Diego and north of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I mean, south of Santa Barbara, sorry.
Yeah. Out by the ocean, kind of. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Try just wrap it, ice it, and then prop it up on a pillow or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you much.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
Greg, you are raising a lot of interesting topics tonight. You mentioned over the weekend about when you did the studies in the brain, each one was unique.
Brain injuries. Yes. Yeah.
So my thought was on something that you were answering earlier tonight was, okay, so if you've had a lot of brain injuries
Mhm.
and there is trauma stored there, like I'm guessing you have fossil around your brain, and that starts to unwind. Is there?
Yeah, so you remember the class that was in the middle of July? It was the mystical approach to psychic protection. And we went through like the different hemispheres. You remember that? Or in that class, that's what we were actually addressing. We were addressing some of the body mapping even then. And so like when there is a little bit of a issue, I mean, we didn't cover the whole brain, but we covered like the big pieces. And so when those happen, it causes like certain kinds of reactions to happen. And yeah, that's what that was based on, was actually the type that I ran that study group. Well, I say a study group, it was a research project back in like, God, it was like 93 or 94, where we went into a facility and we just treated all these different kinds of head traumas. And the thing with the head traumas is sometimes they would, these are more severe head traumas. This isn't just like I bumped my head, I got a concussion. I mean, these were like really severe, but they would cause like different kinds of behavioral changes. And so, seeing it in the extreme, like I walked it back to like we can treat it more in the subtle based on things that have happened, because like I probably have had 10 or 12 concussions, maybe not 12, but 8. Like I've had a bunch. And none of them were bad enough to cause like changes, but I just noticed that like when I got really fatigued or something, like my behavior would change a little bit. So I treated it, and over a period of time, that behavior just stopped, and so I would start with those, like, we hit the different lobes, the occipital lobe, the temporal, parietal, and then we hit, we didn't do frontal lobe or prefrontal cortex, but we did the cerebellum and I think the fourth ventricle is in that one. And so, yeah, you can kind of begin by working that. But a lot of times if you're just trying to unwind like potential head injuries, because like I say that I've had a bunch of concussions. I would say, being cycling, I broke a lot of helmets. I don't know that I had a concussion or whatever, but like, I hit hard enough where the helmet broke. And the way that I unwound that was a lot of helichrysum and then working those different aspects. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it does, what I'm understanding is you can unwind these injuries.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Even really severe, like we were treating some really severe brain injuries, and the doctors were pretty floored at how good of results we were getting. The only reason why we stopped when we did was the board of the facility that we were dealing with got really weird about insurance, and they wanted us to spend it was like $20,000 on insurance for coming in one day a week to do this therapy. And I was just like, we don't have a budget for it. So we stopped. But otherwise, we were rocking and rolling in that facility.
So like, I recall major injuries going really far back where I would black out as a kid.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
then, yeah, I mean, you just normal stuff for kids, right? And then
yeah.
as late as 2019, when I got hit by a moped and went flying in the air and landed on my head, like I never thought about it because I was so focused on the other injuries. There's probably some stuff up there. And
There could be, with that, I would say head and then neck. Like that would be the two things that I would look at. And sometimes depending if you hit from the side versus more on the top, like if you hit more on the top, sometimes it will actually even move the rib cage a little bit. And so sometimes you have to look at the rib cage itself. But lots of helichrysum, like rubbing it into the scalp and into the temples, into the base of the skull, and then a lot of inhaling. If you know how we do that thing where we do the brain awareness, where you go, okay, I feel a little heaviness in this one part of my brain. Part of what you're doing is you're unwinding potential like fascial lesions in different areas, which are just like these little tiny spasms in the connective tissue up in the brain. And so that combined with the use of sage and rosemary and, things that we use for the brain itself, if something's really extreme, then we might need to couple that or augment that with some healing. But the oils are pretty good at treating those things. In the old days, I used to do energy healing and manipulation. And sometimes we had to go slower with the manipulation because it would cause so much change. The oils are way more gentle about it. And so if I was to go back to that time, I'd be real heavy-handed with the oils, much lighter with the physical manipulation, and then augmented with energy healing.
So I'm kind of going down this rabbit hole because of all this vertigo. Am I trying to relate too many things? Is the vertigo?
The vertigo is
probably
more your
something-
neck. Like the vertigo is your neck. Yeah.
But-
I mean, it's just mechanically your neck.
Yeah. But when you just mentioned about that, that injury is probably the head and the neck.
Could be, but still the treatment would be the neck, like really focus on the neck for the vertigo, for the vertigo.
All right. All right. Thank you.
How we were doing those positional things where I had you like twist and go like that while you're inhaling and then like kind of back.
Yes.
Lots of that with inhalation. Yeah, because you're needing to unwind the sternocleidomastoid, the two heads on each side.
And that was the hyssop still.
Hyssop, chocolate root cleanser. Chocolate root cleanser works a little bit better than the hyssop, but the hyssop will work quite well. And the hyssop is more just for unwinding the inner ear. And if you don't have either one of those for the movement,
I do.
something like, okay, then perfect. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're still welcome. Do that for a little while, like a week, and see how it's going. But
Okay, thanks.
you know, in that double, where did we put that double diaphragm? Where we did you see the thing where I did the more involved release for the diaphragm, where we did the back solar plexus and then the heart, and we used 2 different oils. We used like hyssop, and then we used something balsam.
Was that in a recent class? Like,
It was in it was in the newsletter like a couple of weeks ago, and then
Okay.
I'll find it. We'll send it to you.
thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so.
Yeah, I'd have to look and see if it.
It was we did it in like a practice group or something.
It might have been last week's actually practice, because we did a deeper diaphragm last week.
Okay, then I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
notes on that. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was exactly.
Yeah.
We can double check too if you can't find it. And then go ahead, Channing, then Denise.
Hey, Miss Jenny.
Hi, Greg. I was actually looking at my notes. It might have been, was it the multifaceted approach to anxiety where we did 2 different oils at the
Oh,
same
I
time?
think it was. I knew it was in some like really quick thing. I think it was. Yeah.
I'll look deeper in my notes. And then the other one was inner transformation, but that was like a couple years ago. But the more recent one was the
Yeah, the more recent one is much
approach to
deeper.
the
Like
anxiety.
we're doing the inhalation part and the exhalation part, and there's still actually even more a couple pieces to it, but that's a good thing for now.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, first of all, thank you for last weekend's class. I loved it. It
Oh, good.
definitely was very much my jam, and got to practice the 3 brains, which
Mhm.
was when we did it on Friday. I'm like, which one do I look at first? Oh, like it was just sort of riding the bike for the first time. But then over the weekend when we did it, I started practicing it more. And it feels really good. It doesn't feel,
It feels
Like,
amazing. Like
it
it's
feels really good. I feel like I'm still on training wheels.
yeah, but like the more you do it, the more it becomes a little addictive. Like, gotta do my thing, it's my special power. Like, I gotta do my thing. You know, it's
So true. So true.
it
So
will
I
make you like it'll take you as like that innovative like mindset. Like wherever you direct it, you just like start like, how do I innovate? How do I innovate? How do I, you know, it's just, it feels like wherever you point yourself, there's momentum.
I think it's interesting that you're phrasing it as innovative. For me, my experience is I feel calm in the midst of this unknown.
Yeah.
As opposed to kind
But you
of
have to be calm in that unknown to be innovative. Like you can't be reactive. Like you have to be able to go, okay, I need to sit with this for a little bit. And then it's not even like you go, I should do this, I should do that. It's like there's just this stillness and then you're taking action.
yes, something like that. Or
Yeah.
in other words, I don't feel like I'm so nervous or afraid or,
It reduces a lot
lack of
of that.
confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We're
I
gonna
have
go deeper this weekend. I'm kind of excited about it. There's like layers to it, but it's so intense. The more advanced layers, like you can't just jump into it. You kind of, like you said, you feel like you're on training wheels. You just have to kind of keep doing a slow roll until you get to the one that really rocks it. The one that really rocks it. It's almost like it almost feels like euphoric. Like it's literally kind of like you're feeling bliss as you're in action doing things that might be normally uncomfortable, but it's like it's the bizarrest thing to your mind.
Yep. I did some experimenting. So in class, when we did it, I pulled out the spikenard and it was
Yeah.
super strong and it just kind of like knocked me off my feet. And then I switched over to vetiver and that was so much more soothing.
Oh,
So I'm
nice.
kinda just going down the list to do like an experiment. So
Mhm.
for me, the experience has been very different depending upon the oil. So that's very interesting. I don't know why, but I have a
Well,
different.
even though they're both relaxing, they do like slightly different things.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I have a very quick update and then I have a question.
sure, fire away.
The quick update is I actually submitted 2 applications today internally. The one that we thought was getting postponed, I actually had a really great follow-up conversation with the hiring manager, and he's like, oh, they just took it off because there was just so many applications. But he sent a follow-up email to the recruiter and said, send her this link and then also start setting up interviews for her. So
Perfect.
that was my quick update. I have another one that I'm going to be doing, but here's my question.
I think the 18th deadline is very doable, and
Oh,
I really think the 11th is the one that will push it, but like the 18th, very doable.
okay. So definitely keeping in mind the visual and the experience of that bullet train, right?
Mhm.
So here's my follow-up question. I had a hard time just going through the motion of just submitting it. Like I literally felt resistance when I knew I had a straight shot just to apply. Had a great conversation with both of the hiring managers, but then for some reason I just sort of had this resistant. Can you look at that?
Yeah,
It
nothing
almost
easy.
feels like self-sabotage.
It's a bit of that and a little bit of super self-conscious. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's okay. Like the self-sabotage part. Hold on, let me look at something real quick.
And by the way, I'm very aware that I'm doing it. I'm very aware that that's happening.
Yeah.
Like it's no longer a subconscious experience for me. It's very much a conscious experience.
I'm not super aware, like concerned about the self-conscious part. Like that's there and it might make you question yourself a little bit, but that one's not that negative. Like, you know what I mean? It kind of keeps a perspective a little bit. Like you said, like it could potentially turn a little bit of self-sabotage. Everybody has the potential for self-sabotage, by the way. But this is what I'd like you to do for that. So some form of lovage by itself. Do you have just like regular lovage leaf, anything like that?
I actually have the lovage oil and I have the lovage. Is it the body tonic?
Okay, just the oil for this. So
Okay.
you're gonna put your awareness on the like the inside of like your front pelvis, but like the inside of the pelvis, like where the muscles are, like if you went to the bones. And then even your low back, like are you aware of like feeling your psoas, like your hip flexors a little bit?
I was going to ask you about the psoas. Doesn't it run across the?
It runs up and down the spine.
Yeah.
Like it comes from the thigh bones, goes up through the pelvis, and then like kind of does this on the front part of the spine.
Yep.
If you're not super aware of it, it's okay. But just like the front of the pelvis, the muscles in the pelvis, like just kind of that whole, you know how like when we go up the body and we go, okay, put your awareness on your legs, on your pelvis, the sides of your hips, the back of your hips, the floor of your pelvis. Just do the front of your pelvis.
Okay.
and then a little bit up into the low back. Like if you can just tap in a little bit close to your spine, do that several times, and then like inhalations of 20, 25 times, and then let it rest for a minute. And then 20, 25 times, maybe only do it 2 or 3 times in a sitting. And then I think in your kit, I can't remember which kit's kit, but do you have emotional release?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay, then
yeah.
follow it up and just wherever you feel it in your body after that, inhale the emotional release, it'll flush it out.
Okay, just in general.
That's very specific to self-sabotage.
Okay.
Yeah. Very, very specific.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, because it's not so much like the sex organs. It's not about sex, but that area is tied to how we process things from the environment and socially and all kinds of things. And that's what you're bumping up against.
Well, what's so weird is like even talking about this, I'm like sweating.
Yeah. Well, if you think about like self-sabotage is anytime you've had a super negative experience, like, okay, I put myself out there and then I wasn't picked, or I was scolded, or I didn't get the job, or I was penalized. All of that is like going to turn into self-sabotage the next time, like, oh, careful, you remember what happened. And it might not have been about a job. It could have been something on the playground. It could have been something, you know, something where you just put yourself out there socially and had it come back on you.
Oh,
Like where it lands in the body is in the front part of your pelvis, like that.
okay. I know exactly what it's about. It's the
Yeah.
topic and the person we talked about on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be current, it could be old, could be a pattern, could be any of that. But the body doesn't see the story. The body just is like, careful. You know, that's all it's thinking about. Like, remember that time. You know, the stories don't matter. Like, just work the lovage in those areas and let it release.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome.
I'm looking forward to this weekend's class too.
Yeah, me too.
And then go ahead, Denise, and then we have a couple chat questions.
Hey, Denise.
Hi. Well, this week, we're helping my son pack his house up after 20 years. So you can imagine, yeah. It's a pretty big house for one, and he's always taken such good care of it, and he does not want to leave, and he doesn't want to go to community restoration. So a lot of anger, which I think he's probably had for about a year. Okay. But his lower back is killing him, but it often does, Greg. And I know that and his feet just really almost since he's probably been 40, because he's now 45, they really affect his quality of life. You know, those two things there. And then we don't have.
How is his breathing? Like when he's like, does he breathe shallow? Does he breathe rapid? Is like when he gets like that, does he feel anxious?
He just was exasperated. He was in so much pain. He didn't really know what to do for quite a while. So he just had to sit down and rest. And I'd say, you know, when you're in pain, you breathe differently.
Yeah,
right?
he breathes totally differently.
Yeah.
I would do things that like deepen his breath, like chakra root cleanser, hyssop, you know, larch, myrtle, sitka, frankincense, you know, lots of inhalations with all of that. Especially down, like if he just inhaling it is good, but if he can inhale it with his awareness down at the bottom of his throat would be even better.
Okay.
Yeah, that right there will probably just diminish the pain by 50%.
And it is some of the lower emotion as well. You were saying
Yeah. Like, I mean, so much is happening for him with
I
all
know.
that.
Yeah.
So just keeping him like breathing through that is going to be a big thing.
Yeah, it's it's sort of semi-heartbreaking, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the throat minor, right?
Mhm.
Okay, and then.
And if he'll
instance,
wear a little
yes,
galbanum would be helpful as well, but you know, the first choice would be the breath. The second thing would be the galbanum.
breath, galbanum.
Yeah.
And whereabouts does he take it internally, galbanum?
If he wants to, or he can just put several drops on his wrist.
Okay. And anything for his feet? He does. Remember
Actually, the breath should help his feet. Like part
Yeah.
of what's happening, it looks like to me, is he's breathing really shallow, and so what happens is the shallow breathing tightens up the diaphragm, which compresses the spine and the spinal muscles. And then it starts to tighten up the low back. And then it starts to put pressure on the nerves that run down the legs. And then the legs get tight, circulation gets compromised, and then it ends up down in the feet. He looks like it's a breathing issue, even though it's like the hip or low back and down into the legs and feet. I was seeing this also even like with COVID, where people that were having long COVID, they were having the same issue. And if we could deepen their breath,
Yes.
it would go away. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Greg. Thanks so much. Thanks
so
to
welcome.
Scott, too. I appreciate it. And I was able to come on Saturday and I loved it. And I missed Sunday simply because I was having to help pack.
Yeah.
And very
We have
much-
recordings. We can get it to you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it so much. Thank you. I so enjoy your classes. You guys help keep me together. So,
Oh, good.
okay, I'll let you go. Thank you.
Okay. Good talking with you.
Good talking to you.
And go ahead, Megan.
Hey, Megan.
Hey, I'm always second guessing if it's okay to go in and do pranic healing with color pranas like right after I've done work with essential oils. Like,
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah, it's totally fine. Totally fine.
Because I know there's color prana in the oil, so you're sure, because I don't want to mess up anything I did with the oil.
No, it's totally fine. I mean, it's a little bit of a thing. Like I keep bouncing around like the potential of teaching like an integrated, like, you know, like study group. I don't know that I'd do a class for you guys who are doing both, but there's legal issues.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
I mean, like what would be nice if you ever want to is like a once a month, just like anyone who's like working as a practitioner, just so we can go like really geeky on like just whatever healing.
It would have to be somebody else would pull it together, and I'm just like a guest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would be a guest every time, but like
I mean, we can put it anything you want under my name. I don't.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, we'll work out details.
Call me.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Someone in chat has said, I'm struggling and hitting a wall.
I don't know what that means. Yeah, maybe a little bit more detail.
And if or when they type in, someone else is saying, yes, please to integrated. Maybe while they type in,
Maybe hit the.
so yeah, if you want to type in more specifics, otherwise we have a little bit of time, Greg, too. If you want to run them through a protocol.
Yeah, let's go through and do let's do let's pull out some hyssop if you have it. If you don't have hyssop, do chakra root cleanser. And then if you don't have that, use one of the oils like tarragon or lemongrass or sage.
Yes, Spanish sage is good.
Marjoram.
Sorry, did I miss what we're doing?
I didn't say what it was.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. We're gonna, we were talking a little bit over the weekend for the ones that weren't there about this aspect of the three brains. And we'll be talking about it more over the weekend in the Vegas Nerve class. But the three brains are tied to the brain in your head, the brain in your gut, which is your feelings and how you feel about situations, and then the brain in the sex chakra, which is the root brain. It's basically how you process information from the environment, from people, like social situations, the collective in general. Like even when you see, like, I don't know what to do about what's going on in the world, a lot of that is hitting the sex chakra and then stimulating instinctive responses. So we want to be able to harmonize these things so that we're not stuck in one, so that we're stuck in the story in our head or how we feel or the instinctive response. Because when you harmonize all three, you actually start to turn on the intuitive processes in the mind, and you become a much better innovator, problem solver. And there's this thing where, a lot of times what you see is like clairvoyance is what I would call passive clairvoyance. You sit, you look at something, you observe something, you see the energy around it, you see a color, you see something going on in the body, and then you flip to what we would call active clairvoyance, where you see something and you're taking action. You're seeing, you're processing, you're taking action. You see not just those colors, but like how to address or resolve something or get the creative process moving in this particular area. It's a much more potent form of clairvoyance, but it's a little bit harder to teach because you have to kind of teach it over a period of time rather than just trying to go at it just boom all at once. And so some of this is tied to the vagus nerve and to your nostrils, which are these energy channels. And so what I'd like you to do is notice how you feel and just think of some things going on around you. Could be negative, could be positive, could be neutral, just things you're addressing or need to address or can address. And then let's start with the right nostril. So you're going to put your finger over the left nostril and just start taking a long, slow, deep breath into one nostril and then exhale out the mouth. So just keep going in through the right nostril, exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the right nostril, exhale through the mouth. Just keep doing that over and over again. And then pause for a second and just be still. And now go to you're going to take your finger and close the right nostril and inhale through the left nostril. And then be still. Just let it go for a little bit and just be still. Now go to the little notch at the bottom of your throat. Take some long, slow, deep breaths there. And now go to the base of your skull, right in the middle, that medulla area, that little indention at the bottom of your skull, right in the middle. Like if you reach back there with your fingers, you can feel that little indention at the bottom of your skull. And then just be still. And then again, close your left nostril, inhaling through your right nostril. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then just pause. And then plug the right nostril and inhale through your left nostril. Mhm.
You're on mute.
Mhm. Mhm. No, okay, let's stop for a second. Like Samantha brings up a good point. She was saying like she was inhaling on one and then on the other side, she was so congested. So let's say you're congested on this side on the left. Take the left hand, take the left fist, and then stick it in the armpit and let the armpit kind of rest on the right side. So whatever side is stopped up, go to the opposite side and just let that hang for a little bit. And usually within about a minute or two, it will open up. Like what I used to use is like use one of my shawls here. Like I used to kind of roll something up like this. It doesn't have to be quite that big, and then I would go like that. And then just hold it like that, like you kind of see,
Mhm.
and that will open it up as well. So just take a minute, let it incubate for a moment. And then begin inhaling again, right at the base of your throat on the front. So Samantha says, problem with that is now her hand smells like her armpit. So, you know. And then go to the base of your skull on the back side. And the base of your skull on the backside, right in the middle, that medulla area. Okay, now just let go for a moment. You're just going to be still. You're going to be still with your awareness on the back heart. Just be still, your awareness on the back heart. What do you notice? Mhm. Like we only have a few minutes. Let's go ahead and have a couple people share. Like share your experience.
I definitely felt like my brain was getting cleansed or rearranged in some.
Yeah, very good.
And one side felt a little congested,
Mhm.
but overall it felt like it was really cleansing, a little uncomfortable to the throat, but overall it felt like things were getting mopped up for some strange
Yeah.
reason.
Very nice. Good, good.
And go ahead, Priya.
Hey, Priya.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, hey.
I felt really calm and centered, balanced. As I was taking my attention everywhere, you suggested I was sort of keeping the intention that this part is getting cleansed and purified.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, so it was really balancing. Thank you.
So you felt calm and soothed and
More centered, more
yeah,
calm.
more centered. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah,
Someone else said very balancing.
yeah. Yeah. Very good, very good.
Mhm.
Yeah. We'll explore more pieces of this over a period of time. This is just a nice little thing. We can do like, is there somebody else or no? Let's do one more round. Okay, so cover your left nostril, take long, slow, deep breath on the right nostril. And then let that go for a moment. Cover the right nostril and begin inhaling on the left nostril. And then just pause and be still. And then inhale. Actually, we need to get rolling. Sorry. We're going to step over to the Stara prayer, petition, blessing. Join us if you can. Remember, tomorrow night is a study group for the free class that we did this last weekend. And so energetic mechanics combined with the nervous system. So join us if you can at 7 o'clock. Take care, you guys.